Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Christopher Pelton, and I am your host here at THC Time. It is my great pleasure today. I have a filmmaker who has just done some amazing work. His newest short film is called Barista, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at that right now.
She had one love in life. One passion. The elusive pursuit of the perfect cup. Her only dream, to share it with the world, untainted.
Good morning.
Morning. Can I just get a cappuccino?
Of course.
Can I also get an extra shot?
Her only problem, the world didn't want it.
Can I get a latte, please? And what kind of milk substitutes do you have?
French vanilla latte, and make sure that it's decaf this time.
Skinny caramel macchiato, extra whipped cream.
Mocha latte, iced.
Ice mocha latte?
I wanted this hot.
You said iced.
No, I said hot.
I'm sorry you think that, but you're wrong.
Just make it the right way.
They left her no choice. If they didn't want her coffee,
Cappuccino?
she'd put them in their caffeine.
Did you remember the extra shot?
Extra shot?
She tried to grind their beans. Now, she'd put them underground.
Whole milk okay? Death before decaf. Extra whip.
Hey, have you noticed the regulars haven't been coming in, like, regularly?
Yeah. It's nice.
Barista.
You wanted that hot, right?
Barista, you've been warned.
Well, folks, I certainly think we've hit a cinematic milestone with that one. All the years I've been watching horror, I've never seen anybody waterboarded by milk. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is the director, writer, producer, and all-around pretty groovy guy, Zak Parker. Welcome to THC Time, my friend. How you doing today?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great, my friend. So exciting stuff. I've been showing the film around to some folks. They absolutely love it. Everybody's having a good time. So let's get into it. How did you get into film?
Oh boy, I think my story on that's pretty cliche at this point. I've been making movies since I was 10 or 11 years old. Started with when my dad brought home a video camera.
Right.
I grew up in front of a TV, loved movies, obsessed with movies, and was just trying to make things to try to figure out how they worked. So went on from that, and then found my grandpa when I was a teenager. Found my grandpa's old 8mm film camera, like a Kodak Brownie from 1957, and I started making some little things on that too. And then it was really the only thing I've ever wanted to do. Every job I ever had in high school or college was somehow movie related. I worked at a movie theater and doing concessions and ticket stand, and then usher, and then I was a projectionist. And then when I moved to LA, I worked as a projectionist out there too at a few movie theaters. Did projection at Sundance one year.
Nice.
I worked at a Suncoast. I worked at a Blockbuster. I was a critic for a local newspaper for a while. So it's just really the only thing I've ever really pursued doing. Yeah.
Right. For our viewers at home under a certain age, Suncoast Video is a tremendous store. They can be found in malls. Had all kinds of great movies, T-shirts, all kinds of cool stuff.
That's right.
One of the retail ghosts at this point. In Blockbuster, I think there's still one.
There might still
one store.
I think there's a documentary about maybe that it might be closed by now. But there was one. Yeah, there was. So yeah.
And again, it's funny. Let me ask you this, and since we're talking about it, from the days of because you and I think are in the same age group.
Mm-hmm.
That Friday night trip to the video store, or Saturday night trip to the video store,
right?
It was a different experience then. Streaming's great. Don't get me wrong.
It absolutely was.
Media.
I mean, I grew up. There was a video store about 2 blocks from where I grew up at, and I was there almost every day. Actually, 12, 13 years old. I would just walk the aisles and learn and memorize the boxes, the VHS box covers.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember not being old enough to rent any of the horror movies, so I would have to imagine what I thought those movies were about.
Yes. Yes.
And so I remember one in particular, which is now one of my favorite movies ever, which was The Shining, and my mom would never let me watch it. And I'd always say well, what's it about? And she'd always say cabin fever. So the first time I finally got to see The Shining, I think I was 15 or 16, and I was shocked that it didn't take place at a cabin.
Right.
Because I always thought it was about cabin. I had all these daydreams and imaginings and fantasies about this guy trapped in a cabin, that killed his family.
Sure.
And so anyway, but that was one of the things I miss most is just seeing all the box covers.
The box art.
The box art.
And it's so different. And the VHS cover, the VHS art is fine. Our VHS art is great. The DVD cover art, okay, that was fine. Some Blu-ray stuff, okay, that was. But they were so much more because they had to sell you on that cover image.
That's right.
And this is way before. Again, for you kids listening at home, you couldn't just go to the internet and read 27 reviews about a movie.
Right.
You maybe got one in your local paper if you were lucky.
Right.
And then you just had to look at a box art and be like Cronenberg's Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell am I supposed to make of that cover?
Well, what I would always tell distributors, I had to deal with that with my 4 features with the cover art, because we had the first feature I did, there was a conversation of were we going to have it on VHS or should we just do DVD, because it was in the transitionary period. But I'd always tell them, like, listen, the cover just needs to be good enough, interesting enough for somebody to pick it up.
Exactly.
The back is where you sell people,
Right.
you know? And so, yeah,
Exactly.
they both had two different functions. The front
Yep.
is just, you got to get them to pick it up. And then the back is like, that's where you sell them on it. So,
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. And I wonder, the people creating the art for those VHS covers, especially the horror movies back from the
Right.
70s and 80s, I wonder how their careers transitioned, because I think they definitely lost some of the creative end of when they switched over to DVD and then a Blu-ray.
oh, certainly. Right.
They're not, they just don't pop the same. I mean, some of them
Right.
do, but for the most part,
right.
yeah.
Right.
Um,
And you chalk it up to a sensibility difference between, say, the 80s versus the
True.
90s versus the 2000s, too, in terms of what people were looking for. There were just things tonally that you could get away with in cover art in the 80s that you just couldn't anymore.
Right.
So,
Exactly. So your first movie, when did you shoot your first film?
So I shot my first one in 2001, and it didn't come out until 2006.
Okay.
So it was a very low budget feature. It took me a long time to post because, again, like, nonlinear editing was still fairly new, and it was tough unless you could afford an Avid, which was tens of thousands of dollars, which I could not. You had to really cobble some things together in order to, most computers weren't designed to be able to handle the workload of a
Right.
feature.
Right.
So through a lot of trial and error, and then finding composers, and it was during that time I moved to Los Angeles the second time, and so it just took a long time to sell the film.
Sure.
It ended up getting picked up by this very low, very small horror label at the time called Brain Damage Films. And so that release came out in 2006, and then they ended up doing like a remastered kind of director's cut in 2007.
Nice.
And then it
Very
ended up
cool.
getting boxed with 3 disc sets, 5 disc sets, 10. I think I even have one that's 100 movies in a box set.
Wow.
So yeah.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
So from a technical aspect, I've been doing video audio editing for like 25 years now. I started in Vegas, Sony, when it was still Sony Vegas. I don't think Sony owns it anymore. How have you found the transition as a editor and a filmmaker with the rapid improvement in the technology available to the average person?
Well, I mean, yes, I think that it finally, like, digital kind of really started coming into its own around my third film, which I shot in 2010.
Okay.
And so up until that point, we would just hope that, like, you were just trying to show your potential as a filmmaker.
Right.
You'd make a lot of excuses, like, listen, I know this isn't a real movie, but look at what, just like try to imagine what we could do if we had actual equipment. I shot my first feature on a Canon XL1 mini DV. The second one was on a Panasonic HVX 200, which was at least 720p.
Nice.
So a little bit better. But then I used the red camera, the red one, on my third film, and then I shot my fourth one on the Arri Alexa. So the thing that was nice was in post-production how things got more streamlined, converting, getting things over to Apple, where if you cut on Final Cut, you could slip things into DVD Studio Pro. I used to use like 7 or 8 different softwares, one to encode, one to author, one to burn. Like, again, that cobbling together of all these different things. And so it definitely got more streamlined. Things became more compatible with each other, and it made the process a lot easier.
Nice.
I mean, the first thing I ever cut in high school was linear. So I did learn linear editing. And so anything nonlinear, so then anything nonlinear was just like a cakewalk, And then as computers got faster, processing speed, everything, But then with Barista is me taking a big step back.
I love the look of Barista. Because you hit the nail on the head. It does. It takes you back to that 70s, 80s exploitation, grindhouse kind of grit. I love the negative above and below the main picture. The little, I mean, that's excellent.
Well, that's all completely organic. Those are just overscans of the negative.
Right.
So basically, like, Barista came about because I took a little break from filmmaking for various reasons, and but it's always kind of when it's there, it's an itch that always comes back again.
Sure.
And they started to creep back in with a fury with me. But I just missed film being a viable option as I was growing up. like I said, other than getting to shoot some things with my grandpa's old 8mm camera, I didn't really get to do anything on film.
Sure.
And I'd never, to be honest, I've never quite felt a part of the filmmaking world because all of the movies that made me want to be a filmmaker were shot on film.
Right.
And I just never truly felt. Now I think the digital technology has become fantastic, and it's certainly, you know, like you can do anything, you know, like an audience. We've gotten to that place for a while now, where audience accept it, you know, as a viable means of storytelling, you know, using a visual medium. But I'd always wanted to do something on film, and so I started sort of looking at it, you know, like, well, you know, of course I wanted to do my first stuff on film. I couldn't afford it, but like, you know, things have changed for me financially now, you know, a little older. And so I started doing a little research, and oh, well, a camera isn't really that much now, and film is actually kind of affordable. And then it's like, well, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it all in. So not only do I want to shoot it all on film, I want to edit it all on film too.
Nice.
Like I have a background in linear editing. I've never been able to cut a thing like on film, like physical cutting on film. And so that's what happened. I ended up, again, getting on eBay, looking around. I found an upright moviola in St. Louis that I was selling. It turned out this guy who got it from as a retirement gift from Paramount when he worked there. So actually, a majority of the episodes of Columbo were edited on this machine.
Wow, that's awesome.
And so that's what I ended up getting. And then I bought an old Arri Alexa 16BL, and we went to work, started putting it together. Yeah.
Nice. And as with your past as a projectionist, you know, I'm sure you spent plenty of time cutting reels together.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
when I was in the booth, it was 35mm, and so I would have to, when the films would come in on separate reels, I'd have to splice them together and then load them onto the platter. And then when I did projection at Sundance one year, it was a 2 projection system, so you had to do actual changeover. So you thread up one machine, thread up a second one, and you know, when you have those cigarette burns, famous from Fight Club, you have to do that changeover to the other projector. You know, so one would shut off, the other would start, and then you have to run back over, load reel number 3 on the first one, you know, and go back and forth for the duration. So yes, and I have a 16mm projector myself, and so so I feel very comfortable with tangible film.
Sure.
Yeah.
How is your experience in the horror filmmaking community? How's your your fans? What do the fans say? What?
Oh, I mean, like the response from this has been really great. You know, like, I mean, again, like I've been immersed in that community for the better part of 20 some years now. I mean, all of my films, I don't know if you would classify them all as horror films, but they're definitely dark films and have been embraced by a lot of people in the horror community. I mean, I would travel around to horror conventions as well, horror film festivals, Fantastic Fest, you know, like Sitges in Spain, Fantaspoa in Brazil. So Barista premiered at Fantaspoa in Brazil, which is like the #1 genre festival in South America. We played at Fright Fest in London, Nightmares in Columbus, Ohio. So I mean, I definitely know people within that world fairly well. My last feature, Proxy, I was really proud that when it came out, I think few films get to do this, where we had like a spread in both Filmmaker magazine and in Fangoria magazine.
Nice.
So I like that we had a toe in both of those worlds a little bit. So
now, what are your thoughts on physical media these days? Is it something as a filmmaker that you are still willing to fight for, to get those discs in people's hands?
I mean, there's just absolutely physical media. I mean, definitely there is an analog resurgence that has been happening, I feel, over the last year or two. I want to shoot everything I make from now on film. You know, I want to make that work. The feature I'm working on now, I plan to shoot on 16 on the same camera. Nice. Again, cut it as much physically as I can. But and then, you know, like I was definitely, you know, fell into that pool too, where streaming is very convenient, but I definitely have a lot of reverence for my DVD and Blu-ray and VHS collection, and have just kind of recently dipped back into it. I just bought a new Blu-ray player and have been dipping into my old collection. And like for the first time in a while, like I've got that desire to start buying some discs again. So I really do miss it. And you know, all the special features and all the things, you know, involved in that. So I don't want to see it go away. I definitely, you know, I mean, there's nothing more exciting than when I had my first film come out on a video store shelf, you know, to see it in a Blockbuster, to see it in a Hollywood Video, to see it in a Walmart or a Best Buy. I mean, just you can't believe it, you know. I mean, it's amazing. And that's a thing that a lot of filmmakers today, like young filmmakers, aren't ever going to get, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it is. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back and we're going to talk about a bunch of other, I mean, you got a bunch of stuff going on, my man. Folks, you hang tight and we'll be back in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Christopher Pelton, and I am the founder and publisher here at THC Papers. It is my absolute pleasure to bring you a very special announcement today. We have signed a deal with a tremendous, tremendous human being. Mr. John DeSanti is an actor. He was a working actor throughout the 70s and the 80s and into the 90s. If you watch TV in the 80s, you probably have seen his face. He was on all of the big shows. Probably in my realm, in the horror realm, he is best known for being the mad killer, Stanley Herbert, in the classic film Eyes of a Stranger. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. John DeSanti. And John, thank you, sir, for joining the THC Papers team. How are you today?
I'm doing fine this morning. It's a little chilly here in Florida, but other than that, I'm okay.
Excellent, excellent. Well, sir, you've had a remarkable career, over 60 acting credits to your name. You were on, as I said in the intro, every big show in the 80s. And you must have an amazing life story to tell with the back and forth, theatrical films, TV films, all the TV shows. And I can't wait to get into the stories and hear about this amazing career that you've had. One question I will ask real quick for you is, what was it like playing a murderer?
Well, we all have a dark side, Christopher. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can dip in and bring that dark side out.
Sure.
And I was fortunate that this came along at a kind of a nasty time that I was going through. So I used that to bring out Stanley Herbert, and it seemed to work okay. A quick side story is that I had to go potty, and I was in the bathroom, and somebody walked in on me and called me a murdering bastard because I killed the dog. And I said, whoa.
Oh.
I said, wait a minute. Well, that's how it came about. I had no qualm about doing it whatsoever. In fact, it was fun. It made me a more peaceful person.
Sure, absolutely. Well, John, I can't wait. It's stories like that, which is why I love what I do. I can't wait to sit down with you and start laying out this book. And I'm sure the fans are going to love it. And guys, if you haven't seen Eyes of a Stranger, be sure to check that out. It is a tremendous film. And John, we will be talking back and forth a lot over the next few weeks and months. And I want to get this book out and represent you in your amazing career. So thank you for joining the family. I appreciate that. Thank you for trusting us with your life story. And we're going to do everything we can. Folks, be sure to follow us at thclimitless.com, as we will be doing updates throughout the entire process. And looking for perhaps a fall release, maybe Halloween time, just to get it out there in the right place at the right time. So John, again, thank you for your time today. Folks, you stay tuned and follow us along, because there's a ton of stuff happening this year. We'll see you real soon. And we're back. Folks, you know what time it is. It's time for our favorite game here at THC Time. It's time for Straight.
What if CAT really spelled dog?
All right, folks, you know the game. It's straight fire, 5 random questions, no wrong answers. Don't think about it too long. It's nothing serious. First question and last question are always the same. First question: if dogs wore pants, would they wear them on 2 legs or 4 legs?
2 legs.
2 legs. All right. When you are working, Zach, what are you snacking on? What's on the bowl? What's in the bowl on your desk?
A banana or an apple.
Healthy choices. Excellent. What's your favorite guilty pleasure movie?
I just watched My Demon Lover last night. I have such love for that movie. I have such love for that movie. Yeah.
All right. This one actually is a question just for you because of what we'll talk about next. How do you take your coffee?
Double shot of espresso.
All right. Excellent. And Last question I ask everybody, Zach, and when I ask, after you answer, I'll tell you why. When you're at the grocery store, can you reach the top shelves?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. The reason I ask is because the very first interview I ever did, somebody asked me that, and I'm 6'4". So grocery store shelves, no problem. I help little old ladies all the time. Any time I walk into the grocery store, I'm inevitably asked for help. So
well, I'm just not opposed to climbing those shelves.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So from filmmaker to coffee shop owner, tell me what's going on with that. Your coffee shop?
I mentioned, yes, I own a coffee shop here in Richmond. I've been an owner here. I started with the coffee shop in 2016 and then became an owner in 2017. And then I've kind of taken it over since 2019. So I spoke about Fantaspoa in Brazil earlier, where my third film, Scaling, played at this festival there. And what happens when you travel to an international festival, they like to show off their culture to you a little bit, show you the city. And they took me to this coffee shop in Brazil, in Porto Alegre, Brazil. And I'd always liked coffee, but, as somebody who put a ton of stuff into it to cover up that coffee taste, And so we had something there and they didn't have anything. It was a very traditional shop. And so I just, they're being kind and treating me to something. I'm just going to drink it. And I couldn't believe how good it was. And so I asked them, like, well, what is this? Well, they're like, it's just coffee. I'm like, yeah, but what's in it? No, it's just coffee. And it sent me down this like rabbit hole of research of why was it so different?
Nice.
And I guess kind of like film, I like the blend of artistry and science involved in coffee.
Sure.
And so it really, again, like I was having a lot of frustrations in the film industry. I was fighting some weight things with myself, and I needed a thing that I could control and fixate on. And coffee kind of became that thing for me.
Absolutely.
And I don't believe in doing things small, so it's like, well, I might as well make a career out of this. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And is that where you are currently? Are you in the shop, or are you?
Yes. Yeah. So I live. Yeah. Like I said, I own this like 4-story industrial building, which I live in. And
oh,
the
cool.
Shop is on the first floor of it as well.
Oh, very cool. And is that editing behind you?
That is my new Moviola flatbed.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
nice.
what I'm using for the feature. So I have the upright, and then I found a flatbed. So
love it.
I'm kind of in the process of putting that thing back together. Yeah.
Awesome. So Barista is out now. Yes. Obviously.
It's on YouTube now. Yeah.
What is next? Like what's the next movie? And if you want to give us a little sneak peek, maybe tell us what it's about.
So it's one I've been trying to put together for a while now, but now it's kind of been reinvigorated. So like my producing partner on Barista is also my girlfriend, Caitlin Goodpaster. We produced that film together, and so we are now so she came back in and helped me with a rewrite on this other film, and it's a body horror film.
Nice.
Again, it's kind of a very personal story, but I think it has some really cool twists and turns. So we're currently producing that film.
Awesome.
We're working with some very exciting people that I can't really like reveal at this point,
Understandable.
But we plan to shoot that film in Chicago later this year.
Nice.
Again, like looking to use my 16mm camera again, just really excited about that. We're trying to figure out the post-production side, because the most difficult thing about Barista actually was the sound. When you do analog, you have to transfer all of your sound to what's called a 16mm magnetic full coat, which looks like film, but it has audio on it. And you have to cut your audio with your film the whole time, because you can't put audio on film straight, And so, but sourcing magnetic full coat is very difficult these days because it's not made anymore. So we went through 3,000 feet of magnetic full coat for a 5-minute short. So multiply that number by at least 20, and that's what you'd be looking for a feature. And so that's one of the biggest drawbacks and I think one of the biggest limitations of trying to cut something analog is dealing with the sound portion of it.
Sure.
So I'm trying to develop sort of a hybrid system of physical cutting, but also maybe using digital audio at the same time. So we're trying to work that out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, that sounds like because the older audio, I mean, that stuff, they don't make it anymore. And
that's right.
Because it's still, cool. Right. No, that's good stuff. Are you hitting the road this year at all? Conventions, festivals? What's on your calendar?
Well, we just sort of ended the festival run with Barista. So now it's kind of like all in on getting the next feature going. Yeah. Awesome. So, but I do always enjoy, travel. I usually travel to the horror conventions a lot. I used to do screenings there and sell copies of my films. So I'm always like anxious to get back on the road again and do things
Awesome.
like that.
Awesome. Well,
What
I am.
was the one? What was the one? What was the one called that was by you that you mentioned? Or what are some of the ones that you like to hit?
I hit last year. I was at where did I go last year? I went to Silver Screen Con in Worcester, Massachusetts, which is run by the band Ice Nine Kills.
Mm-hmm.
I was at Horror on Main, which last year was in Maryland. This coming year is going to be in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I was at the American Horrors Film Festival back in October.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one other show. Well, I mean, there's a couple small shows I did last year. I did like a psychic fair. So I've been out and about prior to getting into the publishing, production, whatever it is I do now.
Right.
I was a toy dealer for a few years, so I did a lot of toy shows. So
okay,
I like the convention scene. It's easier, I have found. When I was a toy dealer, they weren't coming for me. They were coming for the stuff I had.
Right.
When I was a publisher, just a publisher, it's tricky to get a table. I mean, it's not tricky. It's easy to get a table, but it's tricky to get people to come to the table because when people go to book shows and stuff, they want that autograph.
Right.
I didn't write the books. I just published them. So it was a little kind of
I see that,
yeah. But this year there's a lot going on, and I'm probably going to be doing quite a bit of traveling myself this year between my appearances for stuff, and then I've got clients doing other shows.
Great,
so you're going to be in Chicago filming later this year. I'm not that far from there, so
absolutely.
Maybe I'll pop up and.
That's right. Horror Hound and Days of the Dead are kind of the big ones around here.
Yes.
I know they travel around the country as well, but I think they both started around here. Like Horror Hound's based out of Cincinnati, which is only like an hour and a half from me. So.
Right. So it sounds like there's a lot of exciting stuff happening, and this is, folks, for you at home. This is the website, Roscoe'sCoffee.com. Be sure to check that out. They've got some delightful looking stuff on them, and I dig it, man. I dig what you're doing, and
thanks so much.
Love Barista, and I'm sharing that with folks because it's good stuff. It's just fun stuff.
I appreciate it. I mean, that's what it's made from, a place of just sort of fun and love.
Right.
You know?
And again,
it was really my way of falling back in love with cinema again. So,
Never saw anybody.
People enjoying it.
Never saw anybody waterboarded with milk before. So good job on that one. Zach, I want to thank you for your time today, coming out and talking to us here at THC Time. I'm a huge fan of what you do. So let's stay in touch. And it's going to be 2025 is going to be a great year all the way around. And we're going to make some magic happen. So let's be sure you and I communicate, and we'll get some stuff going this year. It'll be good stuff. If you ever have anything you want to come on and hype, hit me up. My table is always open. And, I'd love to have you and the cast and crew of the new movie as it's moving forward. Anytime, just let me know.
Thank you so much. I
cool.
appreciate that.
Thank you for coming by tonight, folks. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back.
Some fellas have all the luck.
What do you mean, some fellows have all the luck?
Oh, like Larry. He's got good looks and everybody likes him. What else? It's just plain luck.
Well, let's see. Larry's clean and neat. He has a healthy look and an air of confidence. I don't think I'd call it luck. I'd say it's partly due to health habits.
You mean personal hygiene?
Yes. Personal habits of body care or hygiene can have a lot to do with popularity and social success. Let me show you. Almost any morning of the week at 6:45. Larry's up, bright and early.
Oh, cut it out. Nobody can be that wide awake in the morning.
Well, it's gone to bed 8 to 10 hours before. It's not so hard to get up early.
But why get up that early? I'd rather sleep.
You'll see. Larry likes to give himself plenty of time to wash.
You mean he takes a shower every day?
It's a good idea. Your body does a lot of perspiring. Larry's thorough. He makes sure he washes all over. He gives his face a good rubbing. All around the neck, in and in back of the ears, and underneath the armpits. Don't forget the back. He uses a special brush. He's sure to clean between the legs and the crotch. And the feet, particularly between the toes, where harmful fungus can collect.
You mean like athlete's foot?
Yes. And speaking of athlete's foot, how many times have you seen someone do this? Walking around the locker room barefooted is a good way to spread infection.
And I always thought those guys who wore clogs are sissies. Maybe they're the smart ones.
It's smart to watch a few other things, too. Like public toilets. Many different people use these rooms, so toilet seats should be wiped off. And even padded with toilet paper. For any small break in your skin could become an entry for disease. And here's another suggestion to be really safe. Before and after going to the toilet, wash your hands with soap and water. Now do you understand a little more why keeping clean is important?
Sure. It helps to prevent diseases, and you don't have to worry about body odor. Hey, he's getting his hair wet.
He's going to wash it.
He doesn't do that every day.
He sure does. In fact, if your hair is healthy, you can wash it every day. It helps to get rid of dandruff and scalp odors, and the massage stimulates hair growth.
Thorough body washing every day. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. What's next?
A brisk rub with your towel. You must dry thoroughly, too, especially important spots like between the toes. Another thing to remember about toes. Toenails have to be kept trimmed to prevent ingrowing. Notice how Larry cuts the nails straight across. Right after bathing, the nails are more pliable and easier to cut. That goes for toenails and fingernails. After bathing, it's easier to push the cuticles back. That helps to prevent hangnails.
Does he shave every day?
Not all boys need to. It depends on the thickness of your beard. He uses a mild shaving cream or soap, covering the entire beard area with it. Since his face was clean and damp from the shower, he can begin shaving right away. Then, with his razor, he uses straight, even strokes, working his way around the face. Notice how he stretches the skin in some places to get a closer shave. The skin is more pliable after bathing.
What happens when you get to a pimple?
Just go around it. The best treatment for pimples is plenty of soap and water. Then, leave them alone. And remember, others have them at this age too, so don't be embarrassed by them.
Say, that's not perfume, is it?
That's after-shave lotion. Larry likes the way it makes his face feel cool and smooth. And if he's nicked himself while shaving, it helps protect the cut. Here's another tip. Underarm deodorant helps to curb perspiration and perspiration odors.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Dry well. Keep nails clean and trimmed. Shave when necessary. Aftershave lotion. Underarm deodorant. Well, I guess that does it, eh?
Well, not quite. What about that hair? Know what to do about hair that's just been washed? That's right. Brushing your hair after it dries brings luster to it, makes it easier to manage, and it helps to spread the natural scalp oils, making your hair more healthy. There. How's that?
He looks pretty sharp, all right.
Let's see something else that's important to personal hygiene. Clean clothes. You see, clothes absorb a lot of perspiration, especially underclothes and socks. It's a good idea to change them daily. Outer clothes should be hung up neatly. Larry's clothes aren't expensive, but keeping them clean and neat helps to make him look well-dressed at all times and stay healthy. And now Larry looks clean and is clean. That's what gives him that air of confidence.
Is that what gives him such a good build?
No, but plenty of exercise and active participation in sports will help your posture, develop coordination, and improve anyone's build. They help your appetite, too.
Wow. What a breakfast. Is he going to eat all that?
He sure is. Good eating habits are part of your personal health, too. The right foods give you the pep and energy to get through the day. A balanced diet, that is.
Does diet have anything to do with complexion?
Well, too much of certain foods does affect your skin. A balanced diet of the right foods is best. Get to know what the right foods are and eat them.
Maybe you've got something there. Oh, no. Not more washing.
Only the teeth. Right after meals is the best time. Helps to prevent tooth decay. Here's the right way to brush teeth to dislodge food particles that start cavities and cause unpleasant breath. A final check, and he's ready for the day.
And all the time I thought it was luck. Personal health habits, huh? Let's see if I've got them all straight now. Daily shower to avoid body odor. Washing all over, catching places that are easy to miss. Thorough drying. Regular attention to nails. Beard. Hair. Clothes. Daily change of underclothes and socks. Eat balanced meals. Check the mouth. Keep teeth clean.
And don't forget the special things, such as wearing shower clogs or shoes in public places. Taking precautions with public toilet seats. Washing before and after using the toilet. Yes, personal health habits can have a lot to do with your social success and well-being. Try them yourself. That's why I say it isn't luck.
Well, maybe you're right. Personal hygiene. It sure works for Larry.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Christopher Pelton. I am your host here at THC Time, as well as being the captain of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I've got an amazing guest tonight. He is a filmmaker. He's got a new film in the works called Bradlee. He was nice enough to send us a little clip to check it out. So let's take a look real quick at Bradlee. All right. And if for those of you sitting at home wondering what's going on, now's where we're going to find out. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Zak Ferguson to THC Time. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for staying up with us. I know you're across the pond, as we say, and a little later for you, but all good. I appreciate you taking your time. So tell me a little bit about how you got into film.
How I got into film? Well, it's something it's either been with you from the start, I believe.
Yes.
At a fundamental age, and I think it's always been with me. I've always made short movies. I've always experimented with different genres, and I think when I started taking it a little bit more seriously was recently in the last few years, where we have limitations, don't we? Budgetary limitations, and I just felt the need to create for the sake of it, and I started trying to tell stories with public domain images and footage or newsreels, and piece it together fragmentary, and then kind of create a narrative around it. And the more that I experimented with that sense, I kind of developed, I wouldn't say it was my own style, because I think that's a little bit arrogant to say, but I started developing an aesthetic that I felt we need, like very trippy, very David Lynch-esque. And because David Lynch is no longer making projects like this anymore because of funding and all such like, and I think he came out with a swan song with Twin Peaks: The Return, and I think that was all he had to say on the matter. And now he's just focusing on his music. And I thought, well, there is, it's business savvy again. I don't like it, but there is a market for it.
Yes.
People have a taste for the avant-garde, the experimental. And after watching a few horror movies recently that have big marketing campaigns like Skinamarink and In a Violent Nature, I had such strong reactions going off of those two movies. And I wouldn't say it was negative in the sense of, I watched them, I did the analytics, I saw how much they cost to make, and I just said to myself, I could do that for free on my mobile device.
Right.
And with what I'd done, collecting all that I'd been building up with my short films that I'd just been throwing out on YouTube.
Sure.
And I've always been a huge horror fan. I've always been a big horror fan, and I feel that horror is a really good segue into creating movies because of the budgetary limitations, because of the there's so many like branches going off in the horror genre, like the shot on video, the trauma style, or the more, what do they say, the more pretentious elevated horror. There's so many, and there's always new branches being added. So I thought, well, there should be a little niche there, more experimental horror movie. So I thought, why not? And it was kind of just a proof. I've said this quite a lot. Bradlee is a proof of concept feature length. It's a feature length proof
of concept. All right. I dig that. So growing up in the UK as a horror kid, you guys had the video nasties thing in the 80s, and there was all that. When did the general attitude change? Like, what was the first movie you remember seeing that was like, oh wow, this is something serious?
Yeah, the video nasty age kind of it crossed over into the 90s, and I was born in 1995. I've been even at the tail end. I remember being 4 years old, and I was going through my grandfather's VHS collection, and he had these like faux leather cases, and I never knew what was on there. There was a collection of family videos, and then one day I pulled out this cassette, and my grandparents just let me get on with what I wanted, and I put on Army of Darkness.
Nice.
I put on Army of Darkness, and it blew my mind because of the stop motion. Animation, and then I went trawling again, and then I watched I think it was the original Evil Dead, So it was all kind of out, and a lot of people have this with the Evil Dead movies. You don't usually start with the first; you start with the second or the third, or you do it all out of order. So I watched the second one on a bootleg, which was part of the Video Nasty.
Nice,
lineage.
very
So
nice.
when I grew up, I said to my grandfather, I said, "Was that illegal?" He went, "Yeah, it was bootleg. We couldn't get hold of them. We couldn't get hold of them. It was banned." So then he explained to me minorly, because he wasn't a big movie fan. He was just the one who would get movies and just relax, offload.
Absolutely.
But because it was such a media frenzy in the UK, like it is the end of days with the Video Nasties, it was enough in his memory to go, oh, that was big. And I was like, well, did you partake? And he went, well, if you wanted decent horror movies, yeah, you had to go down dark, seedy alleys to get these films. So, and then he thought, you know what? I've opened up the floodgates now. Just go into that cabinet and just watch everything. So I was, and it went from Lucio Fulci all the way to Dario Argento. I even think that he somehow got hold of, and even though Mario Bava wasn't as up there, for some odd reason, my grandfather, who had no aesthetical taste, not a cultured man, he was a carpet fitter for 60 years of his life, but he had all these like amazing movies, multicultural movies, Italian giallo, and he didn't know what they were. They were just horror movies that you got on the in the back alley. So my introduction was through that, but it was more purely visceral and visual. But the one movie that I do remember that absolutely petrified me was I got up at about midnight and my mum was downstairs watching TV, and then there was this sequence of this young woman with tendrils growing up her arms, and there were CDs flying everywhere, decapitating people, and it shocked my system. So for a couple of years I was like, oh, okay, I don't think I should have watched that. And only years later, when I rediscovered The Rage, Carrie 2, I went, oh my God, that is the movie that petrified me.
All right.
So, and then, that whole 90s aesthetic as well, and direct to DVDs, and it's an evolution, because I'm really big into populist mainstream cinema. Like I always say, the movie that made me realize what a director was The Phantom Menace, and a lot of people go, oh God, but
hey, it's Star Wars C-SPAN, it was okay.
Yeah. Oh, and this is the thing, I watched the special editions when I was around 3 years old, so the concept of what Star Wars was legacy wise, but when I saw Star Wars on the big screen, that was the first time that I intuited what a director was. And I said to my grandmother, who really took me to the cinema, she's the one who always took me to a cinema, and I was very lucky and privileged in this sense. And even though we came from a poor background, she always made sure that we saw at least one film a week together.
Nice.
So then it grew. I watched Spider-Man, and then when I saw the name Sam Raimi, those bootlegs, okay. And then you start digging deeper, then it explodes. And now with the now that these once Video Nasties are actually really easily accessible thanks to Arrow Video, Umbrella, Entertainment, it's the relationship in the UK is, it's almost like it's something that we're not really proud of. That conservative-minded. We've got to counsel this vision.
Sure.
It's like the old mantra of Wes Craven's. I think it was Last House on the Left. It's just a movie.
It's just a movie. It's just a movie. Yep.
And I think that mentality is what a lot of still Puritan critics and people work at the BVSC say to themselves. No, it's just a movie. It's just a movie. But I think it's developed now because it's so readily accessible and easily accessible, and because they realised people were getting the bootlegs. I think it just came to a point in time with the culture and the subculture in the UK that they just went, "Fuck it, release them."
Well, that's what happened over here with, or where we're headed over here with marijuana. Everybody was smoking it. It wasn't hard to get, so everybody's just kind of telling our government, like, look, legalize it, regulate it like you do tobacco, take the tax revenue and improve things. It's a no-brainer here. And they finally started to listen. So state by state, we're making headway. But yeah, the movie thing always amused me with you guys because it was like, it's just a movie. It's just a movie. Exactly. So what was your first short film?
My first short film doesn't exist anymore, but I was very proud of it. I did it at college, and we were meant to do a documentary about insects. Well, I took all of the equipment, and I took my friends, and I said, I want to make a horror movie. I'm like, yeah, okay. So we spent almost 2 weeks filming adjacent to the media room where you cut everything, and the teachers are over your shoulders saying, what are you doing? And we made a movie about a hand that was severed, and it masturbated people to death. And when I put that in, and he said, "This is. I understand that insects are phallic, Mr. Ferguson, but this is way beyond what I asked." I was like, "But what would you grade me?" He went, "Oh no." He said, "Depth of field, your camera shots." He goes, "But I can't grade you on this." And I was so proud of that, and I think I had a little conspiracy that they kind of tried to erase it and hide it, because one day I turned up in out of hours because I was always using their equipment to make my own shorts, and all of a sudden I was locked out of my account. I was like,
all right.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
well, hey, maybe it's time for a remake.
Exactly. A feature-length movie. I think I know the only person who would actually be interested in probably producing something like that would be either Troma or Liam Regan. It's a type of ideas.
There's a lot of options out there. We'll talk.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to play Straight Fire, and then we'll talk about what you've got coming up for the rest of the year and where we can find you online, all of that kind of good stuff. So, folks, check out this ad break. We'll be right back. All right, folks, and we are back, and it is time for Straight Fire.
What if CAT really spelled dog?
All right, folks. Zach, this is Straight Fire. 5 random questions, no wrong answers. The first question and the last question are always the same. So here we go. If dogs wore pants, would they wear them on 2 legs or 4 legs?
2.
2 legs. All right. That's the most popular answer for that question. You're sitting on death row. What is your last meal?
Ooh, oh dear. I like food. I really like food. My last meal, I would have to say a hearty, full English breakfast.
Ooh, very good. Very good. What's your favorite guilty pleasure movie?
I think that people shouldn't be guilty of what they watch, but I am guilty of praising Michael Bay more often than I really should.
All right. Fair enough. Fast or slow zombies?
Oh gosh. It's dependent on the storyline and how they execute it.
You don't have to be faster than the zombies. You just have to be faster than your friend.
Exactly.
That's the general rule to live by. Same rule works in Cocaine Bear, which that was a fun. I don't know if you've seen Cocaine. That was a fun one. That was a fun one. And the last
good.
Yeah, the last question I ask, Zach, and as soon as you answer, I'll let you know why. When you were at the grocery store or the market or whatever they are over there, can you reach the items on the top shelf?
Recently, no, because they're getting higher.
All right. All right. The reason I ask is one of the very first interviews I ever did, somebody asked me that question. Now I'm 6'4". I'm a giant. So my whole life, I can't go into a grocery store without some nice little old lady, very polite, would you mind helping me out? Of course, I'm more than happy to help you. No problem at all. My wife is 5'1", so she does all the short work around here and I do all the tall work around here. So it works out pretty good. So what is, when can we expect Bradlee? I know you're still doing the cut.
Oh yeah, still doing a cut. Still got quite a lot of footage that I want to weave into it, but I feel that what I've got at the moment is more. I feel what I've cut together at this current moment is more fitting for later down the stages for the director's cut.
Okay.
Because it's going to be longer, it's going to be far more abstract, more strobic. In the clip that you showed, it's very penetrative. It's very like, I wouldn't recommend you watch it if you have seizures. That's something that I need to contemplate putting before the movie. But it will hopefully actually be completed by the end of February, and I'm hoping that we can get it out quickly for a Easter release.
Okay.
And because I'm doing it all myself, and it's all done on my phone, and it's all very scrappy dappy. It's easy to do in a sense because I'm not reliant on other people. But now that it's become a little bit bigger, I am becoming reliant on people because I have outside sources willing to contribute. And then the reality is that they have to work around their life schedule, and it's kind of a reality as a director for myself who's been doing it all on my own for so long. It's scary, but it's really fun because the whole mentality of directing with a crew and all that. I know how to direct like a big crew. I've done 18 people. That's the biggest I've had.
Right.
And I've been doing it so long on my own now that you become so used to that process. But now that it's become quite a bigger thing and outside people want to get involved, and it's better in the movie, I'm not going to deny that. So you're working around that, but it's still a very quick turnaround because it is such a small movie.
Cool. Very cool. And where can we find you online? And where can we find, is there a fundraising still going on, or are you?
Yes, the Indiegogo is still up, Bradlee. We're in the in-demand processes, so you can pre-order a DVD, a Blu-ray. We, at the moment, have discounted credits, associate producers, executive producers. We have limited edition posters, signed posters. And this is a thing that because it was such a quick thing of setting it up, we didn't go in with as much of a plan, because what I'd like to do with the future with the Indiegogo, if I go that route again, is show people what they're going to get posters wise, because that's what you want, that perk. But because it's such a quick turnaround, we still haven't seen the finished exclusive poster.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it's one of those based on trust thing. But
sure, absolutely.
I can't believe that we went well and beyond our initial go. I think we're at 239%.
Nice.
And it's really humbling. It's really nice. I've made some amazing connections, new friends, and it's just a beautiful thing. And also to see that it doesn't have to be so insular. You don't have to be alone. There are people willing to collaborate and put themselves out there. Like it's really humbling. The movie, I am hoping, will be finished by February. We have a distributor eyeing up the film. You've had her on your show before, Vivian.
Vivian, I love Vivian. She's great.
Yeah, she's
doing great work over there at Embryo House. So that's awesome. That's great. No, she's a delight. I love her, and I've talked about some stuff too. So good choice on that one, man. She's great. Well, I'm very much looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see the finished product. And if you, anytime, my table's always open, sir. If you want to come on when the movie's ready, we'll do a little hype for it. Maybe get the cast together and do a little party, a little launch, and get the word out there. And let's celebrate independent film, and let's celebrate horror, because the horror creators, when we're at our best, we can make tremendous upheaval in the world, and that's a
Yeah.
good thing. You know, it's like people forget, like, let's keep them scared. You know, that's what we do. We're horror folks.
Yeah.
So Zak, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate you coming out, and
Thank you.
we will talk in the near future.
Thank you.